In this video, I will try to convince you that negative emotions are actually good for you. In Western culture, negative emotions are perceived to be useless at best and immoral at worst. We try everything to feel less negative emotions, and when we do feel negative emotions, we think something's wrong with us or that everyone is judging us. Rightfully, negative emotions get a bad rap because unchecked they can lead to dysfunctional thinking. When we don't deal with negative emotions in a productive way, these emotions can compound into reinforcing negative feedback loops. However, this is an extreme situation. Typically, negative emotions are intense but fleeting, and if they are persistent and overwhelming, you should consider seeking help from people you trust who have experience dealing with these issues, like a psychotherapist skilled in CBT therapy. Interestingly, the belief that negative emotions are bad can produce dysfunction in itself. For instance, some people develop fear about having fear, which I call meta-fear. Some people get panic about the idea of having panic attacks. In my experience, negative meta-emotions aren't helpful and they lead to a snowball of more distress. Changing your perceptions to include the belief that negative emotions are helpful is one antidote to dealing with negative meta-emotions. But I'm here to convince you that generally, negative emotions are good for you. They're helpful and they are adaptive. Negative emotions can be the guru to your life when you pay attention to them in a curious and non-judgmental way. So negative emotions like frustration, sadness, and embarrassment are temporary reactions that last a couple of minutes to about an hour. For clarification, depression and anxiety are not negative emotions. They are mood disorders that have fluctuations of negative emotions associated with them. And these mood disorders result in clusters of other symptoms and behaviors independent from the emotion. Negative emotions, just like positive emotions, serve important functions in our lives. We've evolved to have them, just like our other senses: hearing, seeing, touching, tasting. Our senses coordinate input from our internal and external environment and provide us with processed information that leads to inferences about our world. Generally, negative emotions tell us that something is wrong, just like positive emotions tell us that something is right. Many people think that negative emotions are only evolved to deal with situations in our ancestral environment, and that situations in our current environment are too dissimilar. Then they use this logic to prove that negative emotions are not that helpful in our current time. But humans are surprisingly adaptive and flexible, so I believe it's safe to assume that our emotions function just as well for our current environment as for our past environment. Overall, our emotions are speaking to us like our pet dog. They're trying to tell us something, and when we pay attention, we can figure out what they need. For example, when we get angry at something, our limbic system is telling us that something is out of our control. Last week, I had something like this happen to me. At work, I had a presentation, and one of my supervisors disagreed with me on a key assumption I was making. Our conversation got heated, and eventually I conceded that he was right. The next couple of days after that interaction, I would get angry whenever I thought about that interaction. Frustration and anger feel like things are out of your control, and your body reacts physiologically, and you get this energy to do something and gain back that control. Sometimes this can lead to maladaptive behaviors, like sending emails to your coworkers attacking your boss. But if you dig deeper, there's more important information there. So I asked myself, why did this problem at work make me so angry? I'm usually not an angry person, and I deal with disagreements just fine at work. And when I dug deeper, I realized I had spent so much time preparing for this presentation on a project I didn't really care about. And I was really frustrated that I didn't have time to work on my other projects that I cared more about and that were going nowhere. My anger was telling me that something was wrong with this situation. And instead of sending out snarky emails and becoming more hostile towards my supervisor, I should probably figure out ways to focus on the projects I care about. Anger is a motivating emotion, unlike fear and sadness, which are more low arousal. Anger coordinates a physiological reaction, so you're ready for action. Anger is awesome because you can capitalize on this anger in a positive way. For my work, I was able to capitalize on this energy and focus on the work I cared about. Of course, we know anger can get out of hand. This is why dealing with it when you feel it for the first time and using it as a cue to implement some sort of positive change can help prevent building up that anger and resentment that will just explode at some point later. Other negative emotions such as fear, sadness, and embarrassment can also give you information about the relationship between your internal and external world. That's why talking with a good psychologist can help you figure out why you feel the way you do and help you improve your life. Never try to ignore and suppress your negative emotions. Research on suppression indicates it's an ineffective emotion regulation strategy. It doesn't deal with the cause of your negative emotions. Additionally, negative emotions can have positive consequences for society. Brett Ford, a professor from the University of Toronto, shows that anger can promote social activism, and when activists regulate their anger, they become less active. This can have negative societal consequences. Brett Ford also shows that feeling shame and guilt in the workplace can prevent employees from engaging in immoral behaviors like stealing or lying. And employees that do a better job at regulating their feelings of guilt and shame engage in more immoral behaviors. Yikes. Getting rid of negative emotions is not the answer for the individual or for society. Instead, explore why you feel bad when you do. Figuring out the causes can help direct you to make positive behavioral changes in your life, like connecting with other people, developing productive hobbies, and taking care of your health. I'm going to leave you with one more example. There's this rare hereditary disease that prevents some people from feeling pain. This is an extremely dangerous disease because these people won't know when they have a broken bone or when they have a serious medical problem. Just like pain, negative emotions are important unconscious cues that tell us about the experiences in a way our frontal lobes can't always process. When you feel bad, first work on identifying which emotions you're experiencing. Then read up on those emotions and what other people have to say about them. They may mean something different to you because of your culture or how you were raised. But with more practice, you can harness your negative emotions to better your life.